There is an unwritten rule for those working the night shift at the King County 911 Dispatch Center. You are never allowed to look at the clock before 4 a.m. If you accidentally look, time will freeze, stretching out into a thick, viscous liquid, making every minute pass like hours of torture. I broke that rule last night, and now I wish I hadn't done that. My name is Thomas, and I have worked at the Hive, how we affectionately call this large windowless operations room, for 4 years, 3 months, and 12 days. Last night was a typical Tuesday in November in Washington. Rain beat against the corrugated iron roof above the false ceiling, creating a monotonous, dull pattering sound. It was 3:12 a.m. The air in the room was thick with the smell of burnt coffee from the automatic brewer in the corner, and the smell of ozone from dozens of servers running at full capacity. Only 4 of us were on the night shift. Sarah was nodding off at Station 2. Mike was browsing Reddit at Station 5. And I, at Station 4, was trying to keep my eyes open by staring into the sickly blue light of the 3 computer monitors in front of me. The shift passed quite quietly, with only a few scattered calls from drunks getting lost, or false alarms from home security systems glitching due to the storm. Boredom is a double-edged sword. It makes you sleepy, but it also makes you let your guard down against things that are truly terrible. A piercing beep rang out in my headset, signaling an incoming call. The status line on the screen switched from green, ready to red, emergency call. By a reflex honed over thousands of hours of work, my fingers glided over the keyboard to accept the call before my brain could process the information on the caller ID screen. 911. What is your emergency? My voice rang out, steady and emotionless. Textbook standard. No answer. Only the crackle of static, like footsteps on gravel, and another sound. The quiet groan of metal expanding due to heat. I glanced at the caller information box to pinpoint the GPS location, in case the caller couldn't speak. And that was when my stomach tightened, feeling like I had just swallowed a freezing cold rock. The text on the screen appeared crystal clear, blinking threateningly. Caller ID, Alexander Torres. Phone number, +1206 555 0182. That is my name. That is my mobile number. I froze for about 3 seconds. My reason immediately tried to search for a logical explanation. Did you leave your phone at home? Impossible. I clearly remember charging it in the car before starting the shift. Or was it stolen? Or is someone pulling a prank by spoofing the phone number? My right hand, now starting to tremble slightly, slowly slid down to my jeans pocket. The rough fabric rubbed against my fingertips, and beneath it, I felt the familiar rectangular metal block. I pulled it out. The screen was pitch black. No outgoing call was being made. But in the headset, the call was still connected. And from the other end, through the static, I heard breathing. A rapid, panicked breath, as if someone was trying to compress their lungs tightly to make no sound. "Hello?" I said, my voice wavering slightly, breaking professional protocol. Who was holding the line? The other end of the line still did not answer my question. Instead, the background noise became clearer, as if the caller had just switched hands, accidentally letting the microphone pick up the surrounding space. And that was when the blood in my body seemed to freeze into stone. Anyone living in the old apartments in Seattle is familiar with the noise. Traffic noise, neighbors arguing, pipes groaning. But the sound I am hearing here, it feels frighteningly personal. It was a rhythmic sequence of sounds. Clank, hiss, clank, clank, hiss. It is the sound of the central heater in my apartment. Not just any heater, but specifically the heater in the corner of the bedroom, the one with the pressure valve broken since last month. It has a characteristic offbeat melody that I heard every night while trying to sleep. The sound of metal expanding from heat sounds like the joints of an old beast twisting in pain. I had intended to call a repairman this weekend. I cannot be mistaken. The caller is inside my apartment. Hey. My voice hardened, trying to hide the trembling spreading from my chest to my fingertips. If this is a prank, you are committing a crime. I can see your GPS location. My threat was cut off by a whispering, urgent voice coming from the headset. 911. Please. Someone is in my house. I almost fell back in my chair. The headset felt like it was slipping off my head. That was not the voice of a stranger, nor was it the voice of a roommate, or some thief trying to create a diversion. It was my voice. No. More precisely, It was my voice, but at a higher pitch due to fear. It is the voice I hear when watching back videos of myself from college, or when listening to voicemails I left for my mom. The voice was slightly deep, with a characteristic huskiness from light smoking, and the way of swallowing the final syllable of the word me. I stared blankly at the computer screen, where the mouse cursor was still blinking mindlessly. My throat was parched, the bitter taste of bile rising to my throat. I brought my hand to my mouth, covering it myself to stop a sob from escaping. Who are you? I asked, my voice now just a hiss through my teeth. I am Alex. The voice on the other end replied immediately, trembling and full of tears. I am Alex Torres. I live at apartment 4B, Lakeview Apartments number 204. Please, he is coming up the stairs. He is getting closer. Every hair on the back of my neck stood up. It felt like thousands of fire ants were crawling down my spine. That is my address. That is my name. And God, the fear in that voice. It was so real that I could feel the erratic heartbeat of me on the other end of the line. My left hand was still tightly gripping my real phone. It was cold, silent, the black screen reflecting my pale face under the pale fluorescent light. I took a deep breath, trying to get my brain working again. I am a 911 dispatcher. I am trained to handle crises, but the crisis management protocol does not include the item. What to do when you call for help yourself from a place you are not present at. Okay, Alex, I said, feeling like I was talking to a ghost. Where are you in the house? The closet, the voice on the other end sobbed. The closet. In the bedroom. I crawled into the corner, behind the pile of winter coats. But I can smell him. He is right outside the hallway. I closed my eyes. I know that closet. I know exactly where he is sitting. Next to the suitcase with the broken zipper and the strong smell of cedar from the mothballs I threw in there last year. Calm down, I said, but my hands were typing frantically, sending dispatch code 10-33 emergency. Officer needs assistance to the nearest patrol unit. The police are coming. Do you see what the intruder looks like? A long silence. Only the clank, hiss, of that damned heater remained. Then, my voice, the utterly terrified version of me, whispered, so quiet that I had to press the headset against my head to hear clearly. I haven't seen his face yet, but he is walking very lightly. The footsteps. It sounds wet, as if he is walking barefoot, but his feet are bleeding. Unit 4 Alpha, Code 3, to address 204 Lakeview Apartments. Report of home invasion. Suspect is still at the scene. Caution. Subject may be dangerous. I read the dispatch code into the microphone, my voice automatically switching to cold professional mode, but my hand was gripping the edge of the desk until it turned white. On the map screen, I saw the blue dot of the patrol car start moving. 3 minutes. They need 3 minutes to get there. The police are coming. Alex, I said to the person on the other end, to myself, don't hang up. Stay absolutely silent. The gasping in the headset suddenly stopped. A heavy silence descended, leaving only the crackle of static like crickets chirping on a summer night. He stopped. The voice on the other end whispered, so quiet it was almost inaudible. He is standing right in front of the closet door. I can see his feet through the louvers. I swallowed hard. My throat's sore. I know those slats. My closet door is an old wooden louvered door. The white paint turned yellow with age. If you lie close to the floor, you can see a narrow space outside. Do you see anything? I asked, trying to gather information for the police, even though every muscle in my body was screaming to hang up and run away. Describe the clothes, shoes, anything. He is wearing sneakers? The voice replied tremblingly. Black Nikes, white soles, but the white logo on the right is half peeling off. My heart skipped a beat. I slowly, very slowly, lowered my head to look under the desk. Under the pale fluorescent light cast on the dirty floor, my shoes lay there. Black Nikes. And the logo on the right shoe is peeling off, revealing the gray fabric underneath. The result of me often using my foot to kick the motorcycle kickstand. Pants. The voice in the headset continued, sobbing. Dark blue jeans. There's a large stain on the left thigh. Looks like a coffee stain. I felt like the ground beneath my feet was collapsing. I looked down at my left thigh. The dark brown stain was still wet, blotchy on the denim fabric. It was the coffee stain I had just spilled 2 hours ago, right at the start of the shift. When Mike bumped into my arm while passing by, the air in my lungs seemed to be sucked out. I couldn't breathe. The person standing in my bedroom, the person stalking outside the closet door where my double is hiding, that person is dressed exactly like me right now. What is he doing? I asked, my voice now just a soulless whisper. He is standing still. He is not moving. The voice on the other end became more panicked. Wait, he is bending down. He is putting his face close to the slats. A piercing screech rang out in the headset, the sound of friction between flesh and wood. God, I see his eyes. The double's blood-curdling scream rang out, tearing through the silence of the dispatch room. He has no whites. His eyes are pitch black. And he is holding a radio. I froze. My right hand, by an unconscious reflex, was gripping the dispatch radio microphone tightly. And then, through the headset, I heard the intruder's voice echoing through the closet door slats. That voice did not resonate in the double's bedroom space, but it rang out from the very radio the intruder was holding. And that voice was my own voice, emitted from the past just a few seconds ago. Do you see anything? Describe the clothes. Shoes. A wave of violent nausea hit me, making my stomach cramp. My mind spun in an absurd vortex. The person standing in my bedroom, the person staring at my double, is holding a police radio. And that radio is emitting my voice, the 911 dispatcher, in real time. He is hearing all my instructions. He knows the police are coming. He knows what I am telling the double to do. Turn it off! I screamed, no longer caring about rules or staying calm. Don't listen to him. Don't. But my warning only made things worse. Through the headset, I heard my own voice ringing out again from the other side of the closet door, distorted through the cheap radio speaker, echoing in a ghostly manner. Turn it off! Don't listen to him! The echo created an ear-splitting audio feedback loop, screeching like a drill into the eardrum. He is laughing. My double's voice hiccuped, shattering in despair. Why are you laughing? Why are you doing this to me? I am not there! I shouted into the microphone, cold sweat pouring down my back, soaking into the coffee stain on my jeans. Listen to me, Alex. Kick the door. Run. Grab the baseball bat I left in the corner of the closet. He is touching the doorknob, the voice on the other end whispered, giving up. His hand is pitch black. Not gloves. His skin. Looks like it's burned. Click. The sound of the latch opening rang out clearly, like a gunshot in the silent night. I held my breath. The entire dispatch room seemed to hold its breath with me. Mike at the next desk had taken off his headset and was staring at me, mouth agape, but I had no mind left to pay attention to him. My world shrank to just the sound in this Sennheiser headset. The rusty hinge groaned long and loud. The closet door was opening. No, please. The double's voice trembled, crying choked in his throat. Then there was a silence lasting about 2 seconds. Absolute silence. No breathing. No heater sound. Then, a voice spoke. Not through the radio, but the direct voice of the intruder, right next to the victim's phone microphone. It was deep, wet, and sounded exactly like my voice when just waking up, but carrying a primal malice. Found you. A blood-curdling scream tore through the space. It was unlike any scream I had ever heard in 4 years on the job. It wasn't just fear. It was the sound of ultimate pain when flesh is torn apart. The double's scream mixed with the crunch of breaking bones, and a wet ripping sound like someone tearing a water-soaked cloth. Unit 4, Alpha, shots fired, suspect attacking victim, move in, breach the door now. I screamed into the police radio channel, my hands slamming down on the keyboard, but in the phone headset, the screaming had died out. Instead, there were squishing, gurgling sounds. The sound of liquid bubbling from a severed windpipe, and then heavy panting sounded again. The person picked up the phone. Alex? I whispered, hot tears welling up. The only response was a soft laugh. Dry. Then came the long, cold dial tone. The connection was severed. I sat dead silent in the chair, my hands still tightly gripping the headset, as if it was the only lifeline connecting me to reality. The caller ID screen turned off, returning to a motionless black. Alex? What the hell just happened? Mike jumped up from Station 5, rushing towards me. His face was pale. Perhaps he had also heard that scream, even without wearing a headset. It was too loud, too real. I couldn't answer. My mouth opened, but made no sound. I could only point at the GPS map screen, where the blue dot of Unit 4 Alpha had just stopped right in front of my apartment building. Dispatch. This is 4 Alpha. Officer Miller's voice rang out on the main radio channel, sounding nasal and tense. We are outside apartment 4B, door locked. No sound heard inside. Breach the door! I lunged at the microphone, my voice shattering. Breach it immediately! Victim inside. Suspect armed. Copy. Preparing to breach. 3, 2, 1. A loud crash rang out through the radio, followed by the sound of splintering wood. Police! Hands up! Come out now! Chaotic shouting. Boots stomping heavily on the wooden floor. Furniture being shoved. I closed my eyes, imagining the horrifying scene they were about to see. Bloody gore. The corpse of a person looking exactly like me lying in the closet, throat torn out. I waited for the shout medic needed, or homicide reported. I waited for confirmation of the nightmare I just had. But no, only silence. 15 seconds passed, then 30 seconds. The crackle of static was the only sound in the vast dispatch room. 4 Alpha, report status. My shift supervisor spoke up, her voice hardening. Officer Miller's voice rang out, but this time it carried a completely different tone. Not urgent, not panicked, but confused. Dispatch. The apartment is empty. I froze. What? I repeat, scene safe. Code 4. No one is here. No victim. No suspect. Impossible! I screamed, snatching the microphone from the supervisor's hand. Check the bedroom. The closet. He is in there. I just heard him being killed in there. Alex, calm down. Miller's voice rang out, carrying a bit of pity. We are standing in the bedroom. The closet is wide open. Inside there are just some winter coats and an old suitcase. No blood. No signs of struggle. My mind reeled. I just heard bones breaking. I just heard blood spraying. It was so real, I could even smell the copper tang in the air. Check the windows, I pleaded, a feeling of madness starting to invade. He could have climbed out. All windows are locked from the inside. Alex, Miller interrupted me, his voice firm. The front door was also double locked, deadbolt, when we arrived. The dust on the windowsill is undisturbed. No one has entered or left this apartment in at least 24 hours. I let my hand drop, falling freely into a deep pit of despair. Am I crazy? Did I just imagine it all? Did I fall asleep and have a nightmare? But Miller's next words dragged me back to hell, colder and more cruel than ever. Wait, we found something. Rustling sounds came through the radio. Lying in the middle of the bedroom floor, right in front of the closet door, there is a mobile phone. It is an old model. The screen is cracked. My heart stopped. That was the old Samsung S8 I used as a backup. I had thrown it in my home desk drawer for a year because the battery was dead. It is still warm, Miller continued, his voice trembling slightly. And, dispatch, you need to log this. The screen is displaying the call history. What does it show? 4 Alpha, the most recent outgoing call. Ended 2 minutes ago. Duration 4 minutes 32 seconds. Miller swallowed hard, the sound clearly audible over the radio. The recipient number, is the emergency 911 landline number. The next 3 hours passed like a blurry delirium. I was separated from my desk, taken to the break room, and then to the police interrogation room. The familiar faces of colleagues now looked at me with strange eyes, mixed with fear and suspicion. They played back the call recording. Sitting in the cold room, listening to those 4 minutes and 32 seconds, was the most terrible mental torture experience of my life. The gasping, the begging, and finally that gut-wrenching scream. All were my voice. It was not voice imitation. It was not AI, artificial intelligence. Audio analysis experts confirmed the frequency, intonation, and even the breathing pauses matched 100% with my voice sample. But what made the old detective, who had been in the industry for 20 years, we have shaking hands while lighting a cigarette, was not that resemblance. Did you listen closely to the end, Alex? he asked, cigarette smoke filling the small room. They rewound to the very end. The moment after the screaming died, the moment the intruder picked up the phone, a soft laugh, and another sound I had missed in my panic. The clicking of a keyboard. That person, the thing with my voice, didn't just laugh. He typed something into the old phone before hanging up. "We checked that Samsung S8, the detective said, his voice lowering. "No foreign fingerprints. Only your old fingerprints." But, in the notes section, a new line was created at 3:16 a.m. He slid the screenshot of the phone towards me. On the pale yellow background of the Notes app, there was only one line typed hastily, with typos, as if typed by fingers not used to using a touchscreen. "Your skin fits better than I thought." I vomited right onto the interrogation room floor. The police allowed me to leave at 7 a.m. because there was no evidence. I committed a crime, and there was no body to open a murder investigation. They called it a home invasion with unknown motive, and promised to increase patrols in the area. But I knew they didn't understand. They thought it was some fanatic pervert playing mind games. I couldn't go home. Just thinking about stepping foot in that apartment, looking at that closet, I'd rather commit suicide. I drove straight to a cheap motel on the outskirts of the city, far from the hive, far from apartment 4B, far from everything familiar. The motel room reeked of bleach and cold cigarette smoke. I bolted the door, wedged a wooden chair against the handle, and drew the curtains tight. I sat huddled on the bed, clutching the folding knife I always carried. My phone, the real iPhone, lay on the nightstand. I didn't dare touch it. I was afraid it would ring again, but it didn't ring. Instead, the voicemail waiting light suddenly lit up, blinking red threateningly. I had no missed calls. Why is there a voicemail? With hands trembling so much, I almost dropped the phone. I pressed the play button. The speakerphone turned on. No static. The sound was crystal clear, unlike a normal phone line call. It sounded like someone was standing right next to me, speaking into the microphone. And that voice, still my voice, but now sounding satisfied, full, and terrifyingly close. "I like this motel, Alex. Room 102. The chair blocking the door won't hold me. You know. I already have the key." I looked up. The motel room door, where I had wedged the wooden chair, was slowly opening. The chair slid on the old carpet, creating a scree sound. And standing in the doorway, under the flickering neon light of the sign outside, was a man wearing a 911 dispatcher uniform. He was wearing black Nikes, with the logo on the right peeling off. On the left thigh of the jeans was a large coffee stain. He looked up at me. His eyes were pitch black, no whites. He smiled, and I saw his teeth were stuck with pieces of fresh red meat. "Shift is over," he said in my voice. "Time for the shift change." Time, 48 hours after the motel event. Location, King County 911 Dispatch Center. The Hive. Character, Mike, Alex's colleague. I didn't think Alex would come to work tonight. After that crazy night, the night Alex screamed about someone being in his house. Then the police found the apartment empty. I thought he would take long leave, or at least need therapy. The police said they couldn't find Alex at the motel where he registered. They only found his clothes. All his clothes, including underwear, scattered on the floor as if the wearer had evaporated out of them. But then, at exactly 9:55 p.m., the dispatch room door opened. Alex walked in. He looked fine. Actually, too fine. The uniform was ironed flat. Not a single wrinkle. The black Nike shoes were shiny, clean, the white logo pristine as if brand new out of the box. And his face, the face that 2 days ago was pale with panic, is now relaxed, skin rosy, strangely smooth and tight. "Hello, Mike," Alex said as he sat down at Station 4. His voice was the same, but something was different. It lacked the natural vibration, lacking the fatigue of a long-time night shift worker. It was smooth, perfect, like an upgraded Google Translate voice. "Alex?" I stammered, nearly spilling my coffee. Are you okay? The police are looking for you. They said you were missing from the motel." Alex turned to look at me. He didn't turn his body, only rotated his neck. A movement so smooth it made my blood run cold. "Just a misunderstanding." Alex smiled. His smile was very wide. Too wide. The corners of the mouth stretched to the sides unnaturally. revealing perfectly even shiny white teeth. I just needed to change my skin a bit. I swallowed hard, not daring to ask more. The shift began, and that was when the real horror crept in. Alex worked like a machine. No, more than a machine. His fingers glided over the keyboard at unimaginable speed, typing without looking at the screen. He took calls, dispatched cars, handled situations with absolute precision, without emotion, without hesitation. And he didn't drink coffee. In 4 years of working together, I had never seen Alex go through a shift without downing at least 3 cups of black coffee. But tonight, he just sat there, completely motionless when there were no calls, no fidgeting, no scrolling the phone, not blinking. Around 3 a.m., our witching hour, a 911 call rang at my station. I picked up. 911. What is your emergency? The other end was a woman's voice, whispering panicked. Please, my husband. And he is standing watching me sleep. But it's not him. He just got home. But his skin looks like it doesn't fit his body. My neck went cold. I glanced at Alex instinctively. Alex was sitting still, head tilted slightly towards me, as if eavesdropping on the call. As of mine, even though he wasn't wearing my station's headset. Ma'am, where are you? I asked, trying to stay calm. Lakeview Apartments. The woman sobbed. 4th floor. My heart stopped. That is Alex's apartment complex. Before I could answer, Alex suddenly spoke. He wasn't speaking to me. He was speaking into his own microphone, even though his station had no active call. Don't worry, Mike, Alex said, his voice deep and echoing strangely in the quiet server room. Let me handle it. That is my old neighbor. Before I could react, Alex reached over, his elongated, cold fingers touching my keyboard and pressing the button to disconnect the woman's call. What the hell are you doing? I shouted, jumping up from my chair. That's an emergency call. She's in danger. Alex slowly stood up. He was taller. I swear 2 days ago he wasn't this tall. He must be at least 5 centimeters taller. The uniform started to strain at the shoulders. There is no danger, Mike, Alex said, stepping closer to me. His smell was not cologne, nor was it cigarettes. It was the smell of damp earth, fresh meat, and strong ozone. We are just expanding our territory. He leaned down, putting his face close to mine. His eyes, under the fluorescent light, suddenly went dark. The pupils dilated, swallowing the entire white, turning the eyes into 2 infinite deep black pits. And Mike, that voice rang out, not from Alex's mouth, but directly inside my head. Never look at the clock before 4 a.m. You know the rule. I fell back into my chair, shaking uncontrollably. Alex, or whatever was wearing Alex's skin, smiled one last time, adjusted his collar, then returned to his seat as if nothing happened. The phone rang again. Alex picked up immediately. 911. How can I help? His voice rang out, warm, professional, and full of trust. I looked down at my hand, nosebleed dripping onto my dress pants. I didn't dare wipe it. I didn't dare breathe loudly. I just sat there, staring at the screen, waiting for sunrise. But I had a feeling tonight would never end.